I would now like to introduce our next guest, Dr. Carlos Castillo-Garsow. He's an associate professor of mathematics education, has been with Eastern since 2013. He's got his PhD from Arizona State University. He teaches primarily secondary math education, content, and methods courses, and he's also currently the chair of the Mathematics Education Committee. So, Dr. Carlos, as students mostly call you, talk a little bit about math secondary education. I know when you look at the catalog, we see a lot of overlap of courses with that program. It probably has more overlap with our BS in mathematics than it has with courses in the elementary math education, counter to what most people would think about. So talk a little bit about secondary math education, how it relates to studying straight math.
Yeah, so the core of secondary math education really is the idea that you're preparing students for going into STEM careers, going into college mathematics, being able to study science or engineering or economics and having the background to do whatever they want. So a really important thing to take into consideration when you're becoming a high school teacher is that you know the mathematics that your students are going to be studying after they leave your class. And so our secondary program focuses a lot on making sure that our students, our future teachers, are going to have a strong background in mathematics and can be prepared to engage their own students with their interests and whatever reason they would want to have to study mathematics. It does get a little complicated. We have three secondary programs, really. So the secondary mathematics BAE program is kind of our core program. That's for people who very much want to be high school teachers. And they take some courses in undergraduate mathematics, they take some courses in mathematics education, they take some courses in education, and it ends with a certification. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the secondary middle level program. This is for people who really want to be middle school teachers. And that one involves a little bit, there's more of a focus there in understanding where students are coming from. So there's more focus in understanding elementary mathematics and what students are going to understand or have troubles with in those early 6th, 7th, 8th grades. And then for people who are interested in moving on to a master's or want to eventually teach at a community college or a college level, the probably best situation or the best thing to do in that situation would be to double major. In secondary mathematics and mathematics, there's a lot of overlap between the two programs, and that's very much a feature because it means that you can add a math degree with very few courses. And for people who are interested in double majoring, we've got a NOICE program that will pay for the last 2 years of college in exchange for spending some time teaching at a high need school. And it's something that I think anyone who's really interested in teaching at a high level and also giving back to their community would be very excited about and really is worth looking into.
Well, it sounds like students can get the best of both worlds that way and even get, be eligible for a scholarship. I think that's an excellent thing for students to know. We should mention also that our graduate program in applied mathematics has student assistantships available, where students essentially get paid a tuition waiver and get to go to school for free. So for students who are thinking somewhere between middle level, secondary, or maybe community college teaching, it looks like there's lots of opportunities to prepare yourself for either one. Is that right?
There's lots of opportunities to come and decide exactly who you want to be and what you want to teach and where you want to specialize in. And we're always happy to have people come and talk to us and work out the details so that we can customize a plan for you.
Okay. So I've been talking to other guests today about, how they're dealing with the pandemic and the fact that we're sort of involuntarily teaching remote, and I know in math education, the face-to-face component is very important. Now, specifically in your program, I know you do a lot of practicum experiences with students, and I know a lot of the public schools are shut down the way we are essentially teaching online. So, how do we get that component into the program these days?
So there are a lot of students who were just graduating who have started teaching in the schools, and they've, for most part, been teaching virtually online using Zoom sessions, this sort of thing. Teaching online can be very challenging. It's, I think, actually something that I would recommend for just about everyone, because you don't really get a sense of how important it is to have that feedback from students and know what's going on in classroom and how students are performing until it's hard to get that information. But another opportunity that we have, particularly when students are just starting out in the math ed program, is we've been partnering with hospitals to provide tutoring for the children of essential medical personnel. So there are a lot of doctors and nurses and psychiatrists that are working in hospitals right now who can't be home to help their children with their homeschooling. And we have a lot of math education students here at Eastern who need some practical experience spending time with students, learning how students think about mathematics and the way it's different from the way that adults think about mathematics. And so it was really a perfect opportunity for us to start to help out and kind of provide support for the community in this time. So yeah, we've been working with the Math Education Club and with practicum courses like the methods courses and 290 to provide tutors to any essential personnel who need them. And that's something that I'm quite proud of.
It sounds like your students have an opportunity here really to give back to their community. I think that's an excellent way of combining, giving students experiences and also helping the community. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, being a teacher is all about service and it's all about caring about children. So I really think that it's great for everyone.
Great. That's excellent. Now, I can't resist asking you this question because I know you're related to a very famous mathematician with almost the same name as you. And I was just looking up your dad on Wikipedia. Of course, I've had a chance to meet him several times here, and he's had a very amazing career, Dr. Carlos Castillo Chavez. I hope I pronounced that right. He's the founder of a mathematical and theoretical biology institute, and is a winner of three White House awards. He's had a pretty amazing career. Now, I can't resist in this time here with the pandemic. I imagine he's been bombarded with questions about mathematical models and how they relate to the current pandemics. Is this something mathematicians play a real role in?
Um, so epidemiology and the study of epidemics is something that is huge in mathematics. It uses a variety of techniques from computational mathematics and data science and calculus and differential equations, a lot of the programs that we teach here. And it's basically the idea is to answer questions about the potential for different scenarios and kind of explore different options. So what happens if you try to intervene in one way or another? So a simple example for something like this pandemic would be, what happens if, we try to get everybody to stay home, but 35% of people don't comply with stay-at-home order. or what happens, is staying home more important than masking, or is masking more important than staying home? What's the role of testing in understanding the spread of the disease? How accurate is it? How important is it to do contact tracing? All those sorts of ideas of how we understand and track and control a disease and compare different options. And mathematics in general and applied mathematics in general is great for these situations where you can't run experiments, either because the scenario that you're in is too important, or because the experiment would be too unethical, or because the problem itself is just outside of something that we can reach. And being able to understand how a system works and break it down into rules and to do calculations and make predictions is just incredibly important for those scenarios where traditional experiment just doesn't work. Actually, Steve Strogatz has a wonderful little essay about the computer experiment and the importance of doing experiments in computers for precisely that reason, because there are a lot of things that kind of traditional laboratory science just doesn't do well, and a lot of questions that it can't answer, where mathematics and computer science and data science can give us a window into what's happening, or why we should do it, what we should do, or why we should do it.
That's great. I love how we kind of came full circle here with the conversation here. You mentioned data science, you mentioned mathematical modeling, computational mathematics, which we talked earlier with Dr. Taradoki about. And I think there's just enormous opportunities for mathematicians, not just at the, in terms of teaching mathematics to our next generation, but students who want to get involved in projects or applied math masters has the opportunity to work with models in a number of other areas. And I think it'll be interesting to see, collaborative research with other departments, such as in biology, and how we can contribute to a very evolving field. So thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us, and hope you stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you back soon.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.